Hello students, today we are going to discuss yet another interesting concept of mathematics. So we all have studied about polygons in our previous modules. And what is a polygon? Yes, so poly means many while gon means angle. So polygons are two-dimensional closed shapes which are made up of straight lines forming many angles. Now some of the examples of polygons are the square, the rectangle, and then we have the triangle and then the parallelogram. So these are a few of the polygons. Now the question arises, what is this square? So let's try and understand this, and for this we draw a vertical line first. And let's assume that it is of 1 meter length. Now at a distance of 1 meter, let's draw another vertical line of same length. And now what we are going to do is, we are going to join the bottom and top end of these lines. So as we join these vertical lines with two horizontal lines, each of 1 meter length, these horizontal lines, they are called as the length in mathematical language, while the vertical lines, they are known as the breadth. So this sorts of forms a square, where all the sides are equal in length. That is, your AB is equals to BC is equals to CD is equals to AD, and each one is of 1 meter length in this case. Now all the four angles of the square, they are of 90 degrees, as the lines representing the sides of the square, or we can so say the length and the breadth of the square, they are perpendicular to each other. So now we have the angle ABC is equals to angle BCD is equals to angle CDA is equals to angle DAB, and each one is of 90 degrees measure. Now the opposite sides, they are parallel in nature. That is, your AB is equals to CD, and they're never going to meet each other at any point. And similar is the case with the sides AD and BC. Also, the distance between any two parallel sides of the square, it will always be equal throughout the length of these lines. And now we are coming to one more property of the square. That is, a square has two diagonals. And what do we mean by a diagonal? Well, a diagonal is nothing but a straight line which is joining two opposite corners of a flat-shaped polygon, be it a square or a rectangle. And these diagonals are equal in length. That is, your AC is equals to BD. And these diagonals, they intersect exactly in the middle. So these are some of the properties of a square, and rest you shall study in your higher classes. Now the question arises, what is the area of this square? Well, in simple language, area is a measure of how much space is occupied by the polygon, such as a square in this case, on a flat surface. So this much amount is the area of the square. And to make it clearer, let's color this portion. So this colored portion is the area of the square. But this is just a theoretical thing to understand. And if you really want to tell somebody the area of the square mathematically, then how will you calculate that? Okay, so we have studied that meter is the SI unit of length. Similarly, meter square or square meter is the SI unit of area. So how do we calculate the area of a square mathematically? Well, we can make use of the formula to calculate the area of square or any such polygons. So let's take the case of a square first. So if we have the square whose length and breadth are of a centimeters, then what will be the area of this square? Well, let's answer this question by doing a simple activity. Okay, so what do we need for this activity? Yes, so we need this paper of length a centimeter, and what we are going to do next is that we are going to fold this paper a times till we reach the end of this paper. So as I reach the end of this paper here, what are we actually doing here? We are actually covering the area of this square shaped paper. And what have we done over here? We have done repeated addition of A. Now let's understand this activity by using some numbers. Now let's say if we have a square of side 1 unit, then what will be the area of such square? So the area of such a square will be 1 unit square. And this type of square is known as a unit square. So now let's take another square shaped paper like this, whose length and breadth are of 10 centimeters each. And now we are going to find out the area of the square. So how do we find out the area of the square shaped paper? Yes, so we are going to use the same method of folding which we used earlier. So we have this length of 10 centimeters, and now we are going to fold this paper of 10 centimeter length 10 times. And by doing so, we are going to reach the end of this paper. Yes, so there we reach the end of this paper now. So what are we actually doing over here? Yes, so we are covering the area of this paper by adding this 10 centimeter length 10 times. So this comes out to be 10 plus 10 plus 10, and then 10 this is added 10 times, and we get the area as 100 centimeters squares. So in this activity, what are we actually doing? Yes, so we are doing repeated addition, or in other words, what we can say is that we are doing length times the breadth. Clear? Okay. Now this length times the breadth, or length into breadth, is a mathematical formula which we use for finding the area of a square. Now all of you know that in a square, all the sides are of same length. So now this can be written as the length and the breadth, they are of equal measure, or we can say that length is equal to breadth is equals to the side of the square. So the area of the square now becomes side into side, which is nothing but side square. So that's how the area of a square is calculated. So now next we are going to study about a rectangle. So what is a rectangle? Well, let's just first draw a vertical line of 2 meter and another line of 2 meter at a distance of 3 meter from the first line. And now join the ends of these two vertical lines by using two horizontal lines, each one of 3 meters. So this forms our rectangle, where length is 3 meters while breadth is 2 meters. So in this particular rectangle, the opposite sides are parallel and of equal length. That is, your AB is equals to CD and BC is equals to AD. And all the 4 angles of the rectangle are of 90 degrees measure. That is, your angle ABC is equals to angle BCD is equals to angle CDA is equals to angle DAB, each one of 90 degree measure. And it has got 2 diagonals which are equal in length. That is, AC is equals to BD. And these diagonals, they intersect in the middle. So these are the few properties of a rectangle, and rest you will be studying in your higher classes. And now the question arises that how is the area of a rectangle calculated by repeated addition method? Well, let's again answer this question by doing another simple and interesting activity. So here we have a rectangular shaped paper whose length is 8 centimeters and breadth is 4 centimeters. And what are we going to do next? So what did we do for the square? Yes, so we are going to fold this paper of 8 centimeter length 4 times. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And by doing so, we reach the end of this paper. So what are we actually doing here? Yes, so we are covering the area of this paper by adding 8 centimeters 4 times. So this comes out to be 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, which is equals to 32 centimeters square. So even here also we are doing repeated addition, or in other words, what we can say is that we are doing length times the breadth. So what can we conclude from this activity now? So yes, we can conclude that if we have a rectangle, then length times the breadth is the mathematical formula which we use for finding the area of this rectangle, where length is represented by L and breadth is represented by B. Or it can also be written as area of rectangle is equals to length into breadth. And that's how the area of a rectangle is calculated. Now the next question which I want to ask you all is that is there any kind of relationship between this rectangle and the square, and the area of the square being 1 meter square? which we had previously made. So is there any kind of relationship between the two? Well, if you just multiply this 1 meter square by 6, then you'll get 6 squares each of 1 meter square area. So 6 meter squares is equals to 6 into 1 meter square. And if we integrate all these 6 squares into this rectangle, then you can see that these 6 squares of 1 meter square area each can easily fit into this rectangle of 6 meter square area. So with this, I end this module where we have discussed about the area of a square and the area of a rectangle. And in our next module, we are going to talk about the area of a triangle.